Welcome. My name is Lorika, and today we're going to talk about self-care. We're in the second month of our healing journey. Last month we worked on new beginnings. It was the beginning of a new journey, so that was what we worked on, and now we're going to move on to self-care. The way we're going to do this discussion today is to look at a little bit about how I define self-care, what it is, and maybe some ways that you can practice it, but it is less of a how-to self-care video than looking at inside of yourself and finding out what self-care means to you as an individual and not necessarily to me as my definition, right? So let's start with what is self-care. I think often what happens is when we hear the word self-care, we think of going to a spa or having our hair done or our nails, or an outside thing that we do. We go somewhere on a nice break where we get spoiled, and yes, that is self-care, but I think that is a very small part of self-care. I think self-care goes much more deeper than that. Self-care has to do, for me, at looking after. It's inside, it's in here is where self-care is. It's in your heart, it's looking at your emotions, at your soul. It's looking at your mind, it's taking care of your mind. It's an inside thing rather than an outside thing, what self-care for me is. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take care of your, having your hair done nicely and go for things like that. That's great, who doesn't like being spoiled like that? But it's much more than that. So, how do we begin to practice this, right? Where do we start? And I think for some of us it's maybe more harder to start than for others, because we have so many things around us. For some of us there's family responsibility, a lot of work, and you feel like you're juggling all these balls in the air and you just don't know when you're ever going to have time for you. When am I going to have time for me? It's usually the question that we ask. And I'd like to say to you that you always will have time for you. There is always time for you. It might not be an hour or a day or a week, but you have minutes. Minutes can be just as important as long hours, right? So let's say you're sitting in traffic, in your car in traffic, caught up in traffic, and instead of getting stressed out and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so late for that, I'm not going to make that appointment, or maybe take a deep breath and think to yourself, wow, yeah, I'm going to be 15 minutes late. I'm not saying this is going to be easy, right? But say to yourself, I'm going to be 15 minutes late, right? So how bad is that? I mean, yeah, I miss it, but now I have 15 minutes for myself. I have this 15 minutes. I'm in this car, yes, but I can focus for a moment. I can breathe. I can let go. I can look up at the clouds. I can just be for a few minutes. And it's like what you can do is like focus on your heart, that heart chakra that we have here. And I talked a little bit about on a video that I posted on YouTube about this kind of exercise that you can do, that you can open up your heart. And that might be a good exercise to do when you're stuck in traffic. So I will link it below, and you can have a look and see if you want to practice that. It's strengthening your energy field around you, or your aura, as we call it sometimes. And that is an extremely powerful way of self-care, right? So powerful. Because I think the more we start to take care of our inner selves, of our mind and of our hearts and of our emotions, the easier it's going to be to take care of our outer selves. But we have been so programmed by the world around us, society, maybe we want to say, that the outside is so important. How I look, I have to weigh a certain, weight. I have to look a certain way. I need to wear certain makeup, and it's put so much pressure on us, and it creates this feeling in us that we're not good enough. And that's when self-care becomes almost, you can chase it, but the feeling of, I feel good, I've taken care of myself, will disappear, because you're chasing the outside. You're chasing too hard, instead of just letting go and saying, this is my financial situation, this is my physical situation, and I accept where I am right now. I accept this is where I am. It doesn't mean I don't want better. It doesn't mean I don't want more. But I'm not going to kill myself trying to get there, right? So it's about letting go. Self-care is a little bit about letting go, which it sounds like a oxymoron. How do I care for myself if I don't care, if I don't do anything? But that is the point. The point is to just let go and just be. Focus on the inside. Yeah. Sometimes when we want to do self-care or practice self-care, we do want to do something, right? And once we started to take care of our insides, and we feel good about, we build up how we feel about ourselves, then we look at our outsides. And our outsides, you have seen probably videos and read articles about how to take care of yourself, and I'm not going to go into that because there's so much information about that out there. Take a hot bath, read a good book, go for a nice walk, whatever you feel gives you time to care for yourself. Go to the hairdresser, get your hair done, whatever that is, you do that. But for some of us, because this is such a new concept, we might feel really guilty about taking that time or the money to care for ourselves, because we think, my time could be better spent on my family or my kids, or something outside, instead of on me. And so for you, it might feel really very selfish to step into this self-care activity and to do something for yourself. But I think at some point you have to, you can say you have selfish, maybe be a little bit selfish to take care of yourself, because it is your responsibility, right? It is you that take care of you. And if you don't do it, if you don't take care of yourself, who else is going to do that? Who else is going to go and focus on you? There is one thing though, that sometimes you do want to do things for yourself, right? When it comes to self-care, and we often look at see people that are so used to taking care of others that when it comes to taking care of themselves, they feel really guilty. For them, it feels it's the most selfish thing to do. But I want to say to you that unless you care for yourself and take some responsibility of caring for yourself, it's not going to work. It's like this journey that we're on healing. Unless you take some responsibility for how you want to do this healing, for healing your life, it's not going to work. And I talked a little bit about personal responsibility when it comes to healing in another video, which I will also link below, which if you have time, please watch that, because we need to take responsibility for our lives. We need to say that, look, I need 10 minutes right now for me. I need half an hour to go and get in a bath or go for a walk for 20 minutes or whatever it is. We just need to recognize that that is what we need to do and say it to the world. And we can say, now, I don't really have much of a choice. I don't have a choice. I have all this stuff. I cannot take time for myself because it is just not possible. I have no choice. And again, I think you always have a choice. You always have a choice. Sometimes it feels like the choice is taken away from us, right? For me, I take an example. When I was in my 20s, I was in an armed robbery, and a man pushed a gun right against my forehead, and I had to give him all my possessions that I had on me at the time. And at that moment, it felt to me like I had no choice. I have to just give him everything I have, otherwise I'm going to die, right? It's white and black. But when I think back about that event, I think that, I did have a choice. I did have a choice. I could have said no, but then I might have died. And I'm glad I didn't say no and take that chance, right? So I think even though it looks like we have no choice, we do have one. We always have one, and we just need to maybe take responsibility for the choices that we make. I gave my stuff away, and sometimes I really feel a little bit of a failure because I did that. But other times I'm proud of myself because here I am today. I was not hurt in a physical sense. So here I am. I made the right decision at that time. So let's come back to about how we can make ourselves care for ourselves, right? How we can do that, and how we can become stronger in doing that. So let's look at something else. Let's look at if you just for a moment think a little bit about things that make you happy, things that relax you, things that strengthen you. Just think about that for a moment. What are the things that you do that you really enjoy doing? It might be something really simple. It might be going on a roller coaster ride. It might be just sitting in a cafe and having a nice cappuccino or a latte with a slice of cake. What are the things that really make you feel good? And then think, why am I doing enough of those? Am I actually doing the things that I enjoy doing? It doesn't have to be big things, right? It doesn't have to be going on a month-long vacation. It can be something small, like I just said, like a cup of coffee somewhere, just being by yourself, or having a nice meet up with a friend somewhere and just have a good old chat. Yeah, whatever it is, like, think, why am I not doing more of that? What is stopping me from doing that? Might be time. Probably it's going to be time, right? A lot of things has got with time. I've got so much else to do. It might be like, I'm just a bit lazy. Think about that. What is stopping you? And now think, how can you move on from that? What can you do, this thing that blocks you or stops you? How can you shift it just a little bit? Not completely bulldoze it out the way, because those things very rarely happen. These things that we work on here is little by little steps, baby steps. To try and do something and think 24 hours later it's going to be all solved and gone, it's probably not going to happen. So think about how you can shift things a little bit, so that you can just, maybe once a month you can make time to meet up with your friend, or have that walk down to the cafe and have your coffee, just little things. And then when you've decided that thing that makes you happy, think about, put it in a diary or a calendar and keep that. Make an appointment with yourself, make a date with yourself, and do it. Do it. That is your thing that you do. And like I say, it can be 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Something small. Start with something small, because if you start with something small, then you're more likely to do it and continue to do it. And after a while, it might shift and become something bigger. And then you might be able to find an extra little 10 minutes somewhere else and do it, right? So it's little things that you do, baby steps. So what have we looked at now? We have looked at little things, baby steps. Take baby steps of things that make you happy, that you can take time out. Yeah? And the other thing we've looked at is our insides. We need to build on our insides. Make that, I think, if our insides are good, then the outside will follow. The things that we do and how we present ourselves will follow once our insides, we've taken care of our inside, of our emotions, of our mind. Yeah? And one more thing before we finish, I want to just touch on. Sorry. They're so loud sometimes. One more thing I want to touch on is, have you thought about the things that, how emotions work? Let's just talk a little about this. Maybe I will discuss this in some other time a little bit more in depth, but let's just touch on this quickly. Emotions such as love and compassion and patience, they are emotions that strengthen you. They are things that makes you feel strong, right? Emotions such as hate, anger, fear, resentment, they are emotions that drain you. So look a little bit, when you look at your inside, right? What emotions are in yourself? If you have a lot of anger and a lot of fear and a lot of, upsetness about things, there's so much anger going on around in the world at the moment. If you have so many of those feelings inside, you are going to feel drained naturally. Yeah, because it just takes it all out of you. But if you build on finding or building relationship with yourself, feelings and emotions, like a little bit of more love with yourself, a little bit more patience with yourself, a bit more understanding. Yeah, we all have bad days. It's okay. Just those kind of little things, because those little things strengthen you inside. And that is such a powerful way of self-care. So much more so than having the beautiful, perfect hairstyle. Having makeup put on properly, wearing the right jacket, those things are outside. Those are not giving you your self-worth. It's that love inside of you. It's the patience. It's the kindness. That is what builds you up. That is what you need to practice self-care. Yeah. So this month we have a meditation which I encourage you to do. It is about receiving a message from nature about self-care, about what you can do to care for yourself. It's quite a nice visualization. I really enjoyed doing that myself. And then we also have the activity sheet and the journal prompts. And these are meant to help you recognize how you care for yourself and how you can maybe shift some things or discover new ways of doing it, and see where your blockages are and what stops you from doing it. And I'm really happy that you have signed up for this journey. It's wonderful to have you here. And if you have any questions, or if you just want to chat about things, please drop some comments below and we can get a discussion going. Maybe you have some questions about self-care, or you have some tips that you want to share. Let us all know. I hope you have a beautiful week, a beautiful day, and take care.